I earned enough money, paid every bill, and did everything right. One unexpected phone call revealed why I still lived in constant fear of losing everything. I check my account balance at least 3 times a day, not because I am broke, but because I am terrified. This morning, I sat at my kitchen table, sipping the same cheap coffee I have been drinking for years. I stared at the numbers on the screen, a healthy balance, bills all paid, a modest cushion in savings. On paper, I should be breathing easy. I am not rich, but I am far from struggling. So why does every small expense feel like the floor's about to give out beneath me? I live in a one-bedroom apartment with no leaks, no mold, and no landlord banging on my door. My car is used but reliable. I have a full-time job with benefits, and I even manage to put away something each month for retirement. Most people would call that responsible, smart, maybe even lucky, but I never feel safe. If I hear a strange rattle in the engine, I imagine a 4-figure repair bill. When I see headlines about layoffs, my stomach knots for hours, even though my job is stable. When my dentist casually mentioned I might need a crown someday, I nodded and smiled. But inside, I was already calculating what I could cut from next month's grocery budget. I have been living like this for years. Planning, preparing, running worst-case scenarios in my head like drills for disasters that never come. My coworkers say I am disciplined. My friends call me practical. My family, what is left of it, likes to say I am doing well. They do not see the fear behind my eyes every time I swipe my card, because I know what it is like to lose everything overnight. It happened once, and I swore it would never happen again. But the thing about fear is, it does not care how much you earn. It does not go away just because the numbers look good. It hides. It waits. And sometimes, it builds a home inside you so quietly, you do not even realize it has taken over. And that is where my story begins. Because no matter how much I save, no matter how stable my life appears, I am still afraid of losing everything. And today, something happened that cracked my illusion of control wide open. Something that pulled me back into the panic I thought I had escaped. I got a call, and the voice on the other end said 6 words I have not been able to shake. Are you sitting down for this? I was 9 years old the first time I understood how fast money could disappear. It started with a layoff. My dad worked at a local plant that made parts for freight trucks. Nothing glamorous, but it paid the bills. We were not poor, but we were not far from it either. My mom worked nights cleaning offices. We had enough food, the lights stayed on, and once in a while, there would be pizza on Fridays. That was our luxury. Then one day, Dad came home early, his lunchbox still full. He looked different. Not mad, not tired, just blank. I remember the way he sat at the table, staring at nothing while the TV mumbled in the background. Mom kept asking questions, but he did not say much. Later that night, I heard them whispering in their bedroom. Mom's voice cracked. She asked how long we had. Dad said something about severance and unemployment, but it was all muffled, except one word, gone. That week, the little things started disappearing. The cable box, the second car, my Saturday soccer games. Birthday parties got swapped for maybe next year. And then came the eviction notice, stapled right to our front door like a scarlet letter. We moved in with my aunt for almost a year. Her house was loud and cramped, with 3 cousins and 1 bathroom. I had to share a fold-out couch with my little brother, who kicked in his sleep. We were always in someone's way. That was when I first learned what it meant to be invisible poor. Not homeless, not hungry, but always on edge. Every noise could be someone at the door with bad news. Every meal felt borrowed. Every day, I waited for the other shoe to drop. Even as a kid, I could feel the tension leaking from my parents like steam from a broken pipe. I stopped asking for things. I started checking the fridge before school so I could plan my lunch ahead of time and not be disappointed later. I counted the eggs and sliced bread like I was on inventory duty. When Dad finally found work again, warehouse job, long hours, worse pay, he came back looking older. Not just in his face, but in his shoulders. Like he was carrying the memory of everything we lost. We eventually got our own place again, a 2-bedroom near the freeway. But I never forgot how fast it all vanished. It burned into me. So I made a promise to myself back then, in that crowded living room surrounded by people who were always half a paycheck from drowning. I would grow up and be safe. I would have enough. I would never need to ask. I would never let life catch me off guard. But what I did not realize was that you can be safe on the outside and still live like the kid counting eggs on the inside. because that feeling never really left. And that brings me back to today, back to the call, because the voice on the other end, it was my landlord, and he said something that made my heart drop all over again. There's a structural issue under the building, and you're going to need to move. After I hung up, I just sat there, holding the phone like it had weight. A move. Another one. Not tomorrow, not next week, but soon enough to rattle the bones. The landlord said it was not urgent, just a heads up. Could be months before we know the timeline, he said, as if that made it better. But that was not the part that stuck. The part that kept ringing in my ears was this. You'll probably want to start looking. That one sentence flipped a switch in my brain, like a silent alarm had gone off. I opened my laptop and started browsing listings. Even though I had no clue what I was looking for yet, I needed to do something. I switched tabs, opened my budgeting spreadsheet, started updating numbers, rent estimates, moving costs, new security deposit, truck rental, first and last month's rent, utility hookup fees. I do this every time something tilts the ground beneath me. I go straight into planning mode. Not because it helps me breathe, but because if I am calculating, then I am not panicking. It has always been like that. I never buy coffee out, not even the cheap gas station kind. I pack lunch like I am still broke. I reuse Ziplocs. I turn off every light the moment I leave a room. I keep 3 months' worth of groceries in my pantry. Cans, rice, pasta, peanut butter. Things that last. Things that do not ask questions. I check my credit score twice a month. I keep 2 emergency funds. One for actual emergencies, and one just in case the first one fails. When I shop, I scan prices first, then put things back. Not because I cannot afford them, but because I am terrified of one day not being able to. I have 10 different lists on my phone. One for bills, one for groceries, one for things I might have to sell quickly if things go bad again. I tell myself it is smart, responsible, prepared. But sometimes, I look at all those lists and realize they are not just tools. They are shields. They are rituals I have built around a life I still do not trust. A while back, someone from work told me I should treat myself more. She said I seem like the kind of guy who never relaxes. She was right. I laughed it off and said, yeah, I guess I just like structure. But what I really wanted to say was, if I stop planning, I start drowning. That is the truth. Even when everything looks fine, I am constantly scanning for cracks in the glass. And today, well, today felt like a crack. Not a full break. Just enough to remind me that nothing I build is bulletproof. That no matter how much I plan, the world does not care. So I stayed up late that night, going through my files, printing out old pay stubs, checking bank statements, calculating how long I could stay afloat if I had to move next month or next week. I thought maybe, just maybe, I would feel better once I saw the numbers laid out. But when I looked at everything, all I felt was a familiar knot tightening in my chest. Because this was supposed to be my safe zone, my home. And now even that felt temporary. So I poured another cup of that bitter coffee and sat there in the quiet, telling myself, you are okay. You are okay. But deep down, I did not believe it. A few days passed. The world kept moving like nothing had changed, because technically, nothing had. I still had a roof over my head. I still had my job. Rent was paid, food was in the fridge, and no one was chasing me down. But in my head, that phone call never ended. It followed me into work. I would be in a meeting, nodding along to some update, but half my brain was calculating square footage and first month rent. During lunch, I stared at my sandwich without tasting it, wondering if I should cancel the Spotify subscription. Not because I needed to, but because I could. That was the trap. Every time life gave me room to breathe, I held my breath anyway. People at work said I was on top of things. Organized. Diligent. One guy even joked that I must have been a Boy Scout with all the emergency plans I had. But the truth? None of it made me feel secure. Because deep down, I did not trust any of it to last. I had this moment, last Tuesday night, around midnight. I was lying in bed, lights off, phone in hand, scrolling through apartment listings again. My current place was still mine. No deadline. No eviction. No crisis. But I could not stop looking. I found a place that looked perfect. Clean, decent neighborhood, even had a washer and dryer in unit. I stared at the photos for 10 solid minutes. Then I clicked out of the listing. Why? Because I told myself it was too soon. Too soon for what? That is what hit me. There was no emergency. No final notice. No bill collector. But my body was still reacting like the sky was falling. I got up, walked to the bathroom, and looked at myself in the mirror. I looked like someone living in survival mode. Tired eyes, jaw locked, shoulders tight like they were bracing for impact. And that is when it hit me, hard. I have everything I once dreamed of. A steady job, a place to live, money in the bank, and I still do not feel safe. That was the moment I stopped pretending. Because here is the thing no one tells you. Security is not just about what you have. It is about what you believe you are allowed to keep. And somewhere along the way, I stopped believing I deserved peace. That realization did not fix anything, but it cracked something open. For the first time in years, I asked myself a question I had never dared to ask. What if this fear is not about money anymore? I did not have an answer. Not yet. But I knew I had to find one. Because planning for the worst had kept me alive. But maybe, just maybe, it was also keeping me from living. That week, I made a mistake. Not a big one. Not even expensive. I forgot to cancel a subscription before it renewed. $37. That is all it was. But when I saw the charge come through on my phone, I felt my whole body tense up like I had been punched. $37. That was it. And yet, I just stood there in the middle of the grocery store frozen, staring at my screen like someone had stolen from me. And then came the voice. Not from outside. From me. You should be more grateful. I hear that voice a lot. Because I know how bad things used to be. I remember the couch cushions we slept on when we had no furniture. The nights we lit candles because the power bill did not get paid in time. The peanut butter sandwiches that stretched us through weekends. So yeah, compared to that, I have nothing to complain about. And that is what makes the anxiety feel worse. I am not allowed to panic anymore, right? I am not in crisis. I am comfortable. That is the lie I carry around. That gratitude should cancel out fear. That because I have more than I used to, I should never feel unsafe. So I push the panic down. I swallow it. I tell myself, some people have nothing. You should be thankful. Your job pays well. Stop acting like you are broke. You are lucky. You're just being dramatic. But fear does not care how lucky you are. It sneaks in anyway. Even when your fridge is full and your bills are paid. Even when your car starts the first time and your rent check clears. It shows up in the middle of Target when you debate putting back the pack of socks. It whispers when you are out to dinner with friends and pretend not to see the total. It tightens your chest when your boss says, "Can I talk to you?" Even though the meeting is about nothing. Fear does not care about numbers. It only cares about history. And mine taught me that nothing is permanent. That comfort is a coin toss. That the moment you let your guard down, life will come and take everything you built. So yeah, I am grateful. But gratitude does not quiet the alarms going off in my head. And sometimes I wonder if that voice, the one telling me to just be thankful, is not helping me at all. Maybe it is just another way I learned to survive. By making myself small. By convincing myself that wanting to feel safe was selfish. That feeling anxiety over $37 made me weak. That maybe I did not earn peace. Not really. But in the quiet that night, sitting in my parked car with groceries in the back seat and my bank app still open, I realized something. I am not ungrateful. I am just tired of pretending that being okay means I have to feel okay. And maybe it is time to stop punishing myself for wanting more than survival. A few nights ago, I woke up at 3:12 in the morning. Not from a sound. Not from a nightmare. Just woke up. Heart pounding. Jaw clenched so tight it hurt. No obvious reason. I sat up, rubbed my face, and waited for it to pass. It didn't. I walked to the kitchen in the dark, opened the fridge just for the light, and stood there staring at a container of leftover pasta like it held answers. It was quiet. Too quiet. The kind that makes you feel like something is about to happen. I remember thinking, this is it, isn't it? This is how it begins. Something's coming. Something bad. I had no evidence. Nothing had gone wrong. But my brain was already spiraling through all the scenarios. What if I lost my job? What if my car broke down? What if there's a medical bill? What if I missed something? That was the thought that did it. That I had somehow made a mistake. That even with all my planning, all my spreadsheets and budgets and backups, I had missed something, and it was going to cost me everything. I stood in that dim light, knees locked, body still half asleep, running numbers in my head like some kind of ritual. Rent, utilities, gas, food, subscriptions, cell phone, emergency fund, taxes. I could recite them like a prayer. And then it hit me. None of this is about money anymore. I mean, sure, it started there. When I was a kid. When everything got ripped out from under us, and no one explained why. When I learned that having enough could still mean losing it all. That even if you did everything right, life could just say too bad and move on without you. But now it is deeper. Now it is in my skin. The fear does not come from an empty account. It comes from believing that no matter what I do, it will never be enough. And once you start living like that, like you're always on the edge, always bracing, you stop seeing the ground under your feet. You stop trusting anything good. You stop resting, even when you're tired. And you never stop scanning the horizon for danger that may never come. I sat down at the kitchen table, put my head in my hands. For the first time in a long while, I did not reach for my planner, or my budget, or my phone. I just sat there. Let the panic come. Let it run its course. I told myself something I had never said out loud before. You are safe right now. Not forever. Not guaranteed. But right now? It felt like a lie. But I said it again. You are safe right now. And for a second, just one small, flickering second, I believed it. The next morning, I tried to pretend everything was normal. I got up, made the same dry toast I always eat, packed my usual lunch like I was clocking in for a life I was barely living. Nothing dramatic. Just going through the motions. I even added an apple to my bag like I was rewarding myself for surviving the night. But as I walked to my car, that voice came back. Not loud. Not panicked. Just familiar. Do not let your guard down. I froze. Keys in hand, foot halfway into the car, and suddenly I was 9 years old again, watching my dad's hands shake as he told my mom, "We will figure something out." I remembered the sound the fridge made when it was almost empty. That strange, hollow buzz. I remembered how I used to keep a list of all the things we could do without. Light bulbs, new shoes, toothpaste. I was a kid making triage decisions like a field medic. And now here I was, 30-something, fully employed, credit score in the 700s, and I still could not buy a new pair of sneakers without checking 5 accounts first. Some scars do not fade. They just get quieter. They learn how to blend in. That day at work, I kept catching myself staring out the window during meetings. Not zoning out, just drifting. I started asking myself questions I could not answer. What would I do if I lost everything again? Why do I feel more prepared for disaster than I do for peace? Why do I trust panic more than calm? At lunch, I sat alone in the break room, eating my sandwich with the crusts cut off, just like my mom used to do it. A little habit I never dropped. Maybe because it makes me feel in control, or maybe because it reminds me where I came from. That afternoon, my coworker Sam asked if I wanted to split a pizza for dinner. Said he was too tired to cook. It was a simple offer. Friendly. I told him no. Said I had something in the fridge. But I lied. There was nothing waiting for me at home but silence. And still, I could not bring myself to spend the $9.99, not because I could not afford it, because the idea of affording it felt dangerous. I went home, pulled up my budget again, reviewed it line by line, as if I had not already done that twice this week. I told myself I was being responsible. But really? I was looking for holes, trying to find the leak before the flood came, even if there was no rain in the forecast. That is what living with financial fear does to you. It rewires your brain to expect collapse, even when you are surrounded by stability. You become someone who does not believe in good news. Someone who treats safety like a loan that can be recalled at any time. That night, I sat in the dark again, phone in hand, and thought, what would happen if I just let go for once? Not everything. Just one thing. One habit. One rule. One crack in the armor. I did not know the answer yet, but I knew it was time to find out. It happened the next morning. Nothing dramatic. No breakdown. No grand revelation. Just me, sitting at my desk, sipping lukewarm coffee and staring at my to-do list, when I saw the ad. Some local cafe down the street was offering a breakfast deal. Coffee and a fresh sandwich. $14 total. Nothing fancy. Just normal. And for some reason, my brain started doing what it always does. That voice chimed in immediately. You could make that at home for $2. That's not a need. It's a want. $14 now is $400 down the road. I hovered over the order ahead button like it was a detonator. And then I clicked it. Just like that. No spreadsheet. No mental tug of war. No canceling something else to make up for it. I told myself, this is not reckless. This is practice. Practice in letting go. In spending without punishment. In allowing myself to feel okay, even when my gut says danger. It felt stupid and terrifying, like I was doing something forbidden. $14. and I felt like I had jumped out of a plane without a parachute. The weird part, when I got there and picked it up, when I sat on that bench outside with the sun on my face and that hot sandwich in my hand, I felt something I had not felt in years. Not joy, not excitement, relief. Because for once, I did not turn it into a math problem. I did not look at my account afterward. I just sat there and ate. The coffee was stronger than what I make at home. The sandwich was warm, fresh, messy in a good way. And the whole thing? It tasted like freedom. It was not about the food. It was about what it meant. It meant I am allowed to live like I am not one bad week away from ruin. It meant I can choose myself, even in small, quiet ways. It meant I am not that kid anymore, counting eggs and dreading the grocery total. I still checked my bank app later that night. I am not going to lie, but the number was still fine. Nothing exploded. No disaster came. And something shifted in me, barely noticeable, but real. Maybe safety is not built out of planning and panic. Maybe it starts with proof. Little pieces of evidence that life does not fall apart every time you exhale. That fear does not have to run the show forever. I am not fixed. Not even close. But $14 taught me something that years of budgeting never did. Sometimes, security is not about protecting yourself. It is about trusting that you are already protected. That night, I laid in bed with the lights off, the window cracked just enough to let in a breeze. There was no emergency, no flashing alert, no sinking feeling in my stomach. But I still could not sleep. Not because something was wrong, but because, for once, nothing was. And that terrified me more than I wanted to admit. See, when you grow up waiting for the other shoe to drop, silence does not feel peaceful. It feels suspicious. Like calm is just a setup for the next storm. I kept thinking, what am I missing? What did I forget to plan for? My mind scrolled through every possible scenario. Health, job, rent, global collapse, car trouble, even the water heater making a weird noise that probably wasn't even real. This is what happens when fear becomes a routine. It starts to feel like safety. The constant scanning, the low-level dread, the budgeting as self-defense, it starts to feel normal. Like a kind of religion. And walking away from it, even for a second, feels like heresy. But I kept coming back to that one moment from earlier. Sitting on the bench, eating a sandwich that cost more than I thought I deserved. Feeling still. It made me realize something I had never put into words before. My fear is not about running out of money. It is about running out of control. It is about not being able to stop the spiral once it starts. It is about watching things fall apart and knowing no one is coming to fix it. Money is just the language my fear learned to speak. But what it really wants to say is, you are on your own. So stay ready. I used to think if I could just hit a certain number in my savings account, I would finally relax. Like peace was a dollar amount I had not reached yet. But I passed that number months ago. And the fear? It stayed. Which means the answer is not more money. It is something else. Something deeper. Harder. Slower. Something like rewiring. That night, I did something different. Instead of opening my budget app, I opened the notes on my phone. And I wrote this down. You are not in danger. You can handle things when they come. Fear is not a plan. Rest is not a luxury. It felt dumb. I almost deleted it. But I didn't. Because the truth is, I do not need another spreadsheet. I need reminders. I need new rituals. New voices in my head. Ones that do not sound like scarcity or guilt. Ones that sound like compassion. And maybe, just maybe, like me. Not the scared kid. Not the survival expert. Just a person, learning how to feel safe in his own life. I used to think safety meant never worrying again. That if I could just build the perfect plan, enough savings, enough backup options, enough armor, I could finally outrun the fear. I thought it would feel like certainty. Like arriving. But now I know that is not how it works. Safety, real safety, is not the absence of fear. It is knowing that even when fear shows up, it does not get to drive the car. It is knowing that the numbers in your bank account are not the only numbers that matter. That peace is not a receipt you earn. It is a choice you learn to make, one small moment at a time. I am not rich. I still budget. I still save. I still think twice before spending on something that is not essential. But I also let myself buy breakfast sometimes without running the math 6 times. I let myself breathe when things are quiet. I still wake up some nights, heart racing for no reason. But now, instead of reaching for my phone or my budget or a flashlight to check things, I just sit in the dark. And I say it again. You are safe right now. It has become a kind of mantra. Not because it magically fixes everything, but because it gives me something else to believe in. Something that is not panic. This week, I did something I have not done in years. I took a walk with no destination, no goal, no errand. Just walked. I passed a park and stopped to watch a group of kids kick a soccer ball around like they had nowhere else to be. Their laughter was loud, messy, real. And for a second, I felt this strange mix of sadness and envy. Because that kind of freedom, the unplanned kind, it is still hard for me. But I am learning. I do not know if the fear ever fully leaves. Maybe for people like me, who saw too much, too young, it just changes shape. But I do know this. There is a version of security that is not built on money. It is built on awareness. On knowing the fear is there and living anyway. On seeing the storm coming and not flinching. On buying the sandwich. On taking the walk. On letting the silence be silence, not a warning. I used to survive by preparing for the worst. Now, I am learning to live by trusting in the moment I am in. And today? Today is quiet. Today is warm sun through my window and leftovers in the fridge. Today is knowing that even if things go wrong again, I will not fall apart. Because I have done the hard thing. I have faced the fear. I have named it. And I am not running anymore.